So welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast. Nikia, it's great to have you on the show.
It's great to be here, Clem.
Very welcome. So tell the listeners about you and what was the driving force for you creating this organization for women of color?
So I am a practicing anesthesiologist. So as a physician, I've been in school for many, many years, and I've been out practicing for a few years. And I just noticed something in myself and in a lot of my friends who are also women physicians of color, where it's hard to say, like, you don't want to say you're not happy, but like you're not really that happy, you know? So people are like, oh, you're a doctor, you did all this stuff, you have a nice house and all this good stuff, and you should be happy. And that's just when I realized that I was like living in the shoulds, you know. And I do find moments of joy in being a physician, but I don't feel like it was my true purpose and my true calling. Like it meets part of it. I think helping women and helping people of color is definitely part of my mission. And so doing it through, being a physician, it helps, but then I was like, I'm still missing something. And so I just talked to my friends and told them my story and, created a safe space just for them to be like, just to tell me. And some of them are happy. And I said, that is really great that you have found your purpose. But more often than not, they were like, yeah, kind of me too. And so then I just formed my business, which is called She Is Fire Forged. And I started hosting retreats for women physicians of color. And I'm trying to just kind of expand and reach more women who feel this type of lack of fulfillment, maybe being a little bit lost or confused, and then also just not even sure what's happening because you're just so exhausted and overwhelmed and burnt out that you can't even identify that anything is wrong because you're just too busy and too tired.
So what are some of the challenges that women of color face today?
Oh my gosh, it's so many. It's we all face many challenges. We live in a patriarchal society and we're women, and then feminism is not necessarily for Black women of color or minority women of color. It's more for Caucasian women. So we live with those aspects. We live with being told we have to do more and be more just to be seen as equal. We live with microaggressions of many, many different types throughout our daily lives. And we kind of have to just ignore those little comments or those little, oh, your hair, oh, you speak so well. And all those little teeny comments you're trying to ignore and just smile and shrug it off because you're a woman. So you're supposed to be smiley and happy and pleasant. So I think that we go through life and go through day by day, making many micro corrections is what I call them, because you're always like getting feedback from the environment around you and trying not to disrupt things too much. So where you might reply a certain way in one crowd, you have to think about replying a different way in this crowd. And then you find yourself code switching and you find yourself just exhausted in your brain of thinking how to react and how to respond to certain things.
So it's like not being yourself all the time. You have to kind of put on a different face. It depends on where you're at.
Yeah. And sometimes you are yourself, and but you're like a more muted version of yourself. So sometimes you're like not yourself. And then sometimes, like, I'll tell people, like, I try to be myself as much as possible, but I can't be like the full version of myself. So whereas I might have said something like something, I'll say something a little bit similar and a little bit less intense. So I might be myself, but only on like a 5 or a 6, and not give you that that 7, 8, 9, and definitely not the 10. Keep the 10s to the close friends.
So why just women of color and not all women the organization is for?
Yeah, I just feel like we're often overlooked, and it's unfortunate with how great that we as a group have been pushing ourselves to do better and be better. We are definitely the underdog, and these spaces are frequently not safe for us. So I did want it to make it a safe space where you felt like you could be your authentic 10 self and share your story without fear of, anything. So that's why it's created for women of color.
And do you have to be a physician to be a part of it, or just be?
No, so that's why I'm trying to expand. So the group and trying to form a community. And so the community will not just be women of color. The
Mhm.
retreat was, physicians, I'm sorry. It will be women of color, but not just physicians. The retreat was for physicians because we as physicians have to do special education credits to maintain our licensing. And oftentimes it's one of the perks of your job. So you may get paid less, but you get educational credits, money. And so I was like, well, if I make this retreat educational, but make it educational to learn things that we need, like self-compassion and burnout and perfectionism and how to deal with those things, as opposed to the other medical stuff that we can get elsewhere, it will benefit us twofold, where the physicians can come to this nice spa, learn about things that will help them in their day-to-day lives, and also use their educational credits. As I expand, I am trying to plan more events that don't have educational credits attached to them. So they will be open to all women of color, and the community is open to all women of color and supporters.
Mhm.
You can be a valid supporter.
Okay. So you said the pandemic opened your eyes on how burned out that women are. Can you talk a little bit about how you've overcome it, how burnt out you are, and how you've overcome that?
Yes, the pandemic. I would say before the pandemic, I didn't really feel burned out, but I did feel tired. And I was kind of always looking for something different. And so I would go to a job for a few years and then I would go to another job and I just could never quite find it. And that's when I kind of realized that the issue was not really the jobs, it was me, that I was looking for something more that, a job at a hospital couldn't offer.
Mhm.
But I took a job and I was really on the brink and I just was so tired that it's like you would just hope a tornado would come so that you wouldn't have to go to work. Like I was just like so tired that like I would just sit in my car. Like I was too tired to get out of my car. And I really contemplated multiple times, like just quitting medicine and going to work at Starbucks or Trader Joe's or like Target, like I was like, I can just quit this job and go bag groceries at Trader Joe's and I think I'll be fine. So that's when I kind of knew we had a problem. I was just like, wow, if I'm thinking about quitting medicine completely and going to work at a grocery store, not that anything is wrong with it, but it's like you have to reevaluate, like, why are you having these thoughts? And why are they so strong, like the urge to leave medicine after you've put so much time and energy into it? And so the first thing I did was I did quit that job. I did stay in healthcare, but I took a job that requires way less working hours, of course, at a significant pay cut, cut the hours, cut the pay. But I found that time was becoming more important to me than money. And I think that was just also as I got older and more mature and realizing what I truly value. And so I was like, the first thing I did was cut the hours and use that time to just do what I felt like I wanted to do and things I was too tired to do before. So just reading books, taking naps, going for walks, trying to like be more creative and foster my curiosity. And that was pretty much like the first step of like overcoming burnout was just taking time to myself, like true deep self-care, not just massages and mani-pedis, but that self-work. And I do think that sharing my story with my friends helped. Like sometimes it's so shameful to keep it in. And once you let it out, you just feel a lot better.
Wow, that's good actually. Did your friends kind of do the same thing that you did?
Yeah,
Your
and
physician
it's
friends?
interesting. It's interesting that once you share something, how it makes other people comfortable to share something similar. And maybe not all the stories would be the same, but a lot of my friends had similar thoughts about, this is too much. I should leave medicine, or maybe I should just go part-time. But they were just worried about how they would be perceived. Like, why would you go part-time when you don't have kids? I'm like, because I just want to. You don't have to have kids to go part-time. You can just go part-time and have time to yourself. So it's just different stories came up for different people. And it was just very interesting to hear them. And so I think that helped create more of those safe spaces. Like we were already friends, but this definitely took the friendships to a deeper level of vulnerability, I would say.
Okay. So how could women of color be empowered to thrive in this world?
So I think it's very, very hard. The world is not meant for us to thrive. It's created to prevent us from thriving. So I really think the best way is in community, which is why I'm trying to build a community. When you hear what people are going through and learn from their experiences and see what is an example of what you can do, I think it just helps you become more grounded in what's possible. And I think that that's what's essential to thriving, is knowing that it's even possible, or believing that it's possible for you. A lot of people just don't even believe that they can thrive. They feel like survival mode is the only mode. And I really would like to open more eyes to the fact that we can get out of survival mode, we can thrive, we can do it together. There's room for all of us. You know, you don't have to hold back, gatekeep things. You know, we got to bring each other. We got to move up and bring someone back with us.
So would you say it's all about a mindset?
It's
Like, go ahead.
Yes, no, it's just like that was so on point. Like you're like, that was it. Yeah, it's definitely a mindset for sure.
Okay, good. Okay. Because you have to have that mindset in order for you to move on, and in order for you to make other changes in your life and to be empowered as well, you need that mindset. What are some of the steps women of color can take to reconnect with themselves?
So this is something that I've talked to a lot of my friends about, actually. Mostly the mothers, but I wouldn't say all.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the first thing is the mindset, like you just said. You have to realize that you, as a person, are a human being, and you're not your role or your title. So, you know, those things are all encompassing. Like you are a mother, you are a doctor, you are a sister, you are this, you are that. But those roles don't define you as a person. And so people like when I ask, like, oh, well, like, who do you think you are? Like, I'm a mom. Like, outside of your kids, outside of your parents, like, who are you? You're a woman that likes to do what? You know, like you, and it takes a while sometimes to get back to what you actually enjoy doing, as opposed to the things you just do out of obligation. And I do think that realizing that you are your own human being and you deserve to do things that bring you joy, and then just taking time to journal and reflect and think about the things you like to do, and then making the time to do it is the first step.
So tell us a little bit about this upcoming retreat and how we can participate and come together to make a difference.
Yes, I have a retreat. It's coming up in the spring of 2024. I think it's May 8th, 9th, I believe, or 9th, 10th. And it's going to be called Tribe, Empowering Women of Color to Thrive. And I really like, I think that kind of says it all. But I just believe that having a tribe that allows you to positively reinforce those mindset changes, because you're not going to get it outside in society. You're going to hear the opposite of what you need to be hearing to thrive.
Mhm.
Meeting like-minded women, having time to socialize and engage, learning about boundaries and priorities and imposter syndrome, having champagne, you know, having fun and learning about these things that will help are all part of this effort. And so this retreat that will be in May of
Mhm.
2024, information will be coming to the website, www.sheisfireforge.com. Right now, we have the dates on there and just the title. We're finalizing the agenda and everything like that, but it's designed to help you relax and rejuvenate and just have fun overall. So we try to think of all the small things. That way, when you come, all you have to do is show up. Because I mean, I don't have kids, but I know that going on vacation sometimes it's not really vacation, because you're too busy thinking about, where are we going to eat? How long is that going to take? Do we need a reservation? Where are we going to park? All these things that you're thinking about throughout the day of the trip. And so we plan to take care of almost everything. That way, all you do is you book, you show up, you enjoy, and then you leave feeling better.
Is it going to be, do you know where it's going to be? Is it going to
Oh,
be?
yes. I'm sorry, I didn't say where it's going to be. Yeah. So the retreat in May is going to be in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay. And are you planning on having, after this one, are you planning on making it kind of like a pattern to have it continually year by year, or are you just trying this out for the first time?
I do plan to have retreats at least annually, if not more frequently, depending on how the community grows. Because
Mhm.
I do think that just being in person and feeling the energy of other people is very healing. So I would like to have the community, and mostly the community will be online.
Mhm.
But to have the events and for people to meet in person, I think we'll just take it to the next level. So I do hope to continue through annually with retreats and maybe more. If the community grows big enough and people are missing and like, I'm gonna miss it, can you do another one? I mean, I would love to. I just, we just have to have people come to make it an event.
Sound exciting. Do you have any last words for the listeners on being your true self that will help them along their journey in life?
I think that we have a fear of showing our true self. And I just want to say that although the fear is there and at times it feels really, really valid, it's not. There's plenty of research that shows that we more often think people will dislike us or say something negative about us than they actually do. So just try to keep that in your mind and be courageous when you present yourself. And when you do that, the people who are meant for you will find you, and that is your tribe.
Wow, that is excellent. So, what's the name of your website again?
The website is www.sheisfireforged.com.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for being on Beauty of Colors podcast.
Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.